everyone. I'm here joined with a special guest, Hatoum of on.auto. And while he introduces himself in the background of this, I'm going to just double check that everything is streaming on YouTube as intended. So we're not wasting our bandwidth trying to talk to nobody. So I'm going to double check the streams. Sam, let's hear about your background while I flip over
Thing,
to
yeah,
YouTube to see if we're live.
absolutely. So Sam Hatoum, I've met maybe some of you people in the Discord channel. So my background is I've been running a consultancy for 2015 now. I set up Zolvio, and at Zolvio we're doing a whole bunch of workshop techniques, doing things like event storming, doing other whiteboarding things that we'd invented in-house. And then I came across event sourcing and fell in love with the whole technology. And then I knew that this is the way to build software. And so we geared up Solvio to do quite a lot of work in the event sourcing world. We also do a lot of work in the GraphQL land. And I still think that there's a huge interplay here between GraphQL and event sourcing, but I'm not here to talk about that today. We'll save that for
Oh,
another
we can talk
stream.
about anything.
Okay.
This is what people
Okay.
love these kind of discussions. They
Fair.
want the juicy bits. So while we do what we're going to do here, so thank you for that background. I too started, with all these previous attempts at finding the right way to do it, and event modeling kind of fell out of those attempts. So I'm very familiar with event storming. Some of our guys have worked with GraphQL quite well, so there's a good discussion about why or why not GraphQL is good. I think GraphQL may actually be better in event sourcing than with traditional stuff. There's some the ability to walk a graph too far has security concerns from some people about GraphQL, but then again, it's all about how you design things. So I know both sides of the argument there, but it would be more juicy pieces for people to hear from someone that's dove into it a lot deeper than I have on the GraphQL side. So I think that'll be really cool to touch upon while we chat, while we do this this awesome task of trying out for the first time. Now it's public, right? on.auto is public now, right, Sam? So
It's still in technically we're still in stealth, but this is a special one for the event modeling community. So
oh,
we're going to
nice.
show a
Okay.
preview of how it's working. But yeah, I mean, you can go on there, you can sign up, and then we'll add you on. If you come to the Discord, then we'll definitely get you added onto the platform if you want to work with us.
Awesome. So this is highly exclusive. Again, the banner has the URL. So if you watch the stream, the little banner that's going by behind our heads here, you'll see URL coming up. Actually, it's coming up right now, I think. Yeah, in the brackets there, just behind my head right now. There it is. Okay, go there and you can try it out. So what are we doing today? So what I've been doing in the live streams is looking at automating an unconference, which is an event. This is an event model for that system, which an event model is really just a walk through a timeline as to what do you expect to happen, and then capturing all the data on the bottom. So without the little given when thens, it should kind of look like this. Just looking at that, that's the core of the event model. See kind of what screens people see as they go through the timeline, and then of course the little yellow boxes down below. Sometimes they're orange depending on how you color your events. I chose yellow because I started this before obviously the pandemic, where we could easily get together in person, and there was way more yellow stickies than any other color stickies. So that's why events are plentiful, and so therefore why not use the most plentiful stickies, which are yellow sticky notes in most offices. So that's why they're yellow, not orange, but you'll see them interchange colors event modeling anyway. So this is kind of just a quick background for people that are jumping in as to what we're going to be doing. So I've been doing this kind of on a canvas which is freeform. There's no guidance. I have to kind of know the convention as to how to put together an event model, where when I press a button, it's blue and it means information is going in, and if it's successful, it stores it here. And then any screens that show information, it's that dynamic information is shown in green, and the actual computation of that, how do you want to show something, is in green here. So you can see that all along the way. We can see the input and output going with this blue, green, all the way across. And we can see how far back some of these things read information that was entered into the system when they come up again. You can see all these uses of previously entered information as we go. So what is the system that we're automating here? And we're going to be doing the same thing with a canvas that is on.auto, which, Sam, it's basically this plus a lot of help, because doing this with just crayons here, doing everything, with no guidance is kind of tedious. A lot of copy pasting, alignment issues, etc. So, kind of give the background on Auto and how
Yeah.
the event modeling template started to be and how it helps this problem that I'm having here with manually making all these rectangles and connecting them.
Absolutely. So there's actually a backstory to Auto. It used to be called Narrative. You may have seen it on my LinkedIn if you've looked if you've paid attention. Funnily enough, Adam, like I came up with narrative-driven development completely orthogonally to what you were doing with event modeling. Like I saw what Alberto Brandolini did. I saw what Greg Young did. One day I was talking to Alberto and I said, Alberto, how do you represent this in software? And he said, Sam, the stickies aren't software. And in my mind, I'm like, why not? Like they should be. They should be software. I should be able to map this entirely to 100% software. And so I ended up going down this rabbit hole of building something called narrative-driven development, which you can go and see, and I will revive it one day. And then I discovered that, Adam, you've been working on this event modeling for 10 years or so, and I was like, wait a minute, we're thinking exactly along the same lines. We had the same like very similar patterns. You had the 4 patterns here of state change, state view. I called them action, reaction, and just there was a whole bunch of stuff that was very, very
Coevolution,
similar.
right? It's coevolution.
Exactly.
You have the different kinds of animals evolving to the same form that are totally genetically different, but they end up looking the same. So, yeah, it's
Exactly. And
interesting.
and that and that happens because, it's when you're innovating in a certain space and you've got the same tools to innovate with, you're going to come up with roughly similar outcomes if you're trying to solve similar problems. And that's basically what happened there. That's what you're referring to coevolution. And so, yeah, that was the backstory. But then I discovered, well, hey, look, there's a whole community here of event modelers that work in this way. So we're building a product that allows people to fall into the pit of success, right? Like doing this on a completely empty canvas like Miro is very difficult, or here, even draw.io. You're
Yeah,
basically just drawing on a canvas. Like you said, crayons is a good way to put it,
yeah.
because there's nothing that's actually creating any kind of structure for you, any kind of schema for you to
hmm
work within, right? And
Now,
so
let's
we ended up.
to be fair, Martin has done a lot of work in an add-in for Miro to help it along, and I guess arguments could be made that I could do the same thing for Dryo. But really, why are we helping these things that are just really meant to be very generic, right? So,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
and there's a handful of things like tools out there that are trying to do event modeling. I've definitely seen those. Um, and the what we wanted to do is actually not just build an event modeling software, so to speak. We wanted to build a modeling platform, an abstract modeling platform that allows you to model anything. And
yeah,
so what you're going to be looking at today is we created an event modeling schema that you put on Auto, and now you can do event modeling on Auto. And the idea can be said the same for any other modeling technique. So let's say you're doing jobs to be done framework in your company for figuring out what users want. You can take the jobs to be done model, create a schema for it, and put it on Auto. And that's the idea here. This is actually a dedicated abstract modeling platform. Similar how you have Excel and you can do a million things. This is a
yeah.
modeling platform that can do a million things. But the first use case we're focusing on is event modeling, and we want to do it really, really well. All right.
Yeah.
Because if we can solve
Funny,
that,
funny that you
we can
mentioned
solve it.
Excel because tomorrow we're having a live stream with Chris Condren, the former CTO of Event Store DB, who is working on a product which has Excel as the front
Interesting. Interesting.
so
Yeah, we'll have to
it's all
see.
coming together.
That.
This coevolution thing's just breaking my mind right now. Anyway,
Yeah.
exciting stuff. So what? Yeah. So I want to now. I want to say, okay, let's repeat my struggle that I went through on Draw.io, and let's see what that would look like on Auto. So, pardon the quick flash of white because you don't have a warning for those watching this at night. Uh, you have a white background, just like Miro right now. So when I switch to the screen, turn your phone away so you don't wake up your spouse if you're watching this in bed.
I promise to have a dark mode is coming. It's in development. It's on a branch. It is coming very,
It's
very
only
soon,
going
I
to
promise.
help the people that are watching the live streams. If you
Okay,
are
good.
happy with a white background to actually work in the office, it's probably what you want. But for the purposes of demos, when people are just nerding out while trying to fall asleep, yeah, the white background is going to wake up the spouse. So let's see.
While,
Let's
while,
go.
while you pull that up, Adam, just to highlight, like
Yeah,
this is our very first version. If you
yeah,
want to, whenever you're ready to go to Auto, this is our very first version of using event modeling on Auto. And so we're developing this scheme right now. We're working with the community very closely, with members of the community. If you'd like to be a part of that, please come and contact me so you can join us and make this product amazing for you and everybody else. It is very early, and Adam, I'm grateful that we're going to just pull it to its limits and see where it breaks. And that's
Yeah,
what
well,
this is
this
about
is
today,
this
right?
is the agile way to build things with the maximum amount of feedback from the end
Exactly.
users. So I'm happy to be a guinea pig for that and try doing the same thing that I'm doing here in my live streams using on auto. But you do have your own Discord as well. Again, you're on the general event modeling Discord, so people can find you there, and we're happy to share the audience with you. Of course, on auto
Mhm.
has its own Discord server that that people that are specifically using this tool can go to and just get into the specifics. But I also welcome the discussion on the general event modeling Discord. We do have separate channels for different topics, maybe too many. Sometimes the conversation is a little bit sparse. So if there's specific products that help event modeling, like on auto, there should be also a channel there so that people can at least get an introduction to this without having to join another Discord server. So I'm happy to do it anyway. But anyway, feel free to jump in to the conversation too on about this as you're watching. So again, it's on Twitch, YouTube, and I think comments come through from LinkedIn, and replies come in from X. They should come into the chat. So if you have a question, feel free to type it in, ask what's going on. So back to just the background on this. So event modeling, this is the kind of standard way of doing things. We kind of touched on it very quickly. At the top, I have main workflows outlined, like open space setup, the unconference open space, interchangeable terms. We name the conference, we set the dates. Here we add rooms. So these are the workflows that we're going through from left to right, kind of like a storyboard for a movie. And we see exactly what the user sees. We have different users: Joe the organizer, Adam the participant, and Alice the misfit. And then we have Eugene the sysadmin. So we have 4 physical actors, not actor in like the technical term. These are the users that we have of our system. So you'll see the screens that each of these folks see as we go along. Obviously, the first ones is just the organizer, naming things, setting dates. Kind of a wizard. You could technically put this in one screen if you wanted to, but then they give a URL code. We have a processor here which generates unique IDs. We kind of over complicated it just to show some mechanics of how you do a processor in event modeling. And then once they make a conference, they can show a QR code to the participants, and they can scan that with their phone, and then they can go and sign up, with welcome to the open spaces, and then continue on to suggesting topics, and then of course having a list of topics by everyone. Oops. There's another thing. That's the problem with Draw.io right there. This pops me away somewhere into some other part where I don't know where I am. I have to zoom back out. So definitely not
It's like
the
the GPS
ideal
on my
tool.
car.
So easy win for Sam here. Score 1 for Sam, 0 for Draw.io at this point here. And so yeah, so you keep suggesting topics, and then you vote on topics. I haven't modeled this yet, so hopefully we'll get to this part more quickly in using on auto. So that's kind of the thing, and then you have a schedule creation, and once the organizers create the schedule with the topics and the different time slots and all of this, people can go ahead and enjoy the conference. So this is kind of a neat usable application that if you're organizing a conference, you can use this. But it's also nice to be able to see it created using event modeling and event sourcing. So these yellow stickies, yeah, that's the events that keep getting stored in the system. And let's start from translating this to using on auto. So I hope that makes sense. We have some given when-thens here, so other permutations, little smaller timelines of like what happens when we have different scenarios. When the name is repeated, we try to rename the same thing. Does it fail? Does it pass? So we have these tests here. So we definitely expect in event modeling to be able to give scenarios that kind of fully explain how some things could fail. Does that make sense, Sam? Did you want to add anything to any of this?
No, it all makes sense. I mean, I am excited to start to.
All right, so we're going to use this as our starting point. We want to create what we see here in here. All right, so just before we went live, I signed up was very quick, easy. Used my Google account. I'm in there. I'm looking at a canvas, so I didn't really have to do anything. It took seconds to get going. So thank you for that, Sam. Made that very easy.
Cool.
And then we went to this event model. We went down here to the left and created this. So I have a whole bunch of cool things. I can expand this, which maybe I'll
All right,
do.
so
Oh,
there you go.
is that what
That's
I
the
do?
first
Oh,
one.
okay. So
That
you
is
have a
your event
trigger,
model.
automation, intent. So this is kind of your alternate wording for what we call in ours as I guess a command maybe
Yep.
we have two slices. We have a slice that changes state, and we have a
Yep.
slice that shows state, right?
The
So
state change state view, absolutely. So let me just quickly guide you like of what you're looking at. If you zoom out a little bit more, there's more to the to the
oh,
bottom. There
okay,
we go.
okay. Oh, we have
Right. So that's
external
actually
and
so yeah,
specification.
you can move the script. All we're doing is collapsing it. Now remember, everything is 100% configurable. Like we'll be able to change all these names, the lanes to whatever you want. This is
Okay, okay.
completely defined by a schema.
So
Now what we're
would I
gonna do?
say that trigger is like the UI or a
Correct,
gear?
exactly. So
Okay, so
yeah,
that would be
exactly.
my
So
UI layers, right? In here.
let's represent just a sample state change state view to get you familiar with the tooling first, right? So if you just grab a command from the bottom,
Okay.
and then just,
Should I get can I get a UI first or no? I
yeah,
want to make
sure,
a
you can
little
get a UI.
form.
Yeah, absolutely. Grab a UI and put it up in the top trigger lane.
Okay, cool. And
Right now,
so this one
notice.
can be, so in here, my first UI is, let's just zoom in so we know what we're doing. So we're naming things. So we have our name and a set name. Pretty easy UI. We
You
should be
grab
able to
that
do that.
screenshot you have there. Let's move it into auto. So if you can
Yeah,
grab
I
like a
can do as a
screenshot,
screenshot and I can
just that
paste it
one
in, right?
screen. Yep, just that one screen, and then you can
Okay, so I'm just going to go
drag that.
function print screen here. I'm going to grab this guy here. I'll
And
do
then you
my
can drag that
best
onto the canvas.
to kind of grab exactly what I want here. Do you see that as I'm doing the
Yep,
screenshot?
perfect. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to copy that. Do I have to save it, or can I copy from the clipboard?
Normally you can drag and drop straight onto the canvas. So I don't know if because you're using Linux here, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, is
Should
it
work.
a copy or a drag and drop from a file system?
Usually drag and drop works best. So I haven't tested copy paste.
I'm
but you
gonna
can try.
copy, and I'm gonna see if I can drag this. Oh, I think I can.
All right.
I think I
Then yeah,
can do
that'll
this.
work.
So here's my screenshot. Wobbly windows. That's something you don't get on other
No,
OSs, right? Okay, anyway.
it's scary. I thought I was having a fit.
So let's drag and drop this guy here. Oh,
Yep.
it's kind of not working.
Just put it on an empty space, like not the canvas itself, just to the right there.
Oh,
No?
okay, I see.
Yeah.
It's
Is it
still
not
got a
upload?
little red thing that I
Not
can't
uploading?
do it. Do
Oh,
I have to do a
strange.
file?
Okay, so you can do upload there. See that little attach file
But
down
I
the
can
bottom?
do copy
Try that and just try to paste on the
and
board there.
paste Control V usually, right?
Yeah, not working. We'll get
No.
on that. So that's
Okay.
easy stuff. But if you click on the attach in the toolbar, there's a little attachment.
Here?
Down the bottom in the tool, just in
Oh,
the
here,
toolbar. Right?
this thing.
Yep.
Okay,
So
yeah.
attach from device, and you can upload the file. Drag and drop usually works on. We've tested it on Windows and Mac. So I don't know.
It's just
Maybe it's
giving.
something.
It's probably just the format that it's in there. If I save this to, if I just save this, an open containing folder,
Try that.
then I should be able to drag and drop that.
It should say uploading. No, nothing. Okay.
Oh no,
Oh,
there
there
it
we go.
is.
You got it. You got it. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So now you've got the screenshot, right? This is floating, and what you can do is you can grab that screenshot and drop it onto that white sticky, and it will actually dock into that
The
sticky.
one, which one? The
Into
very
that
far left or the
left,
one in the middle?
the actual the left, the one you put there.
Oh,
There we go.
okay.
So now it's attached to it, and you can open
Okay.
up that window to open and collapse. So you can move it up as well if you want.
Okay, so there's no little preview on here, right?
Yeah. So click it. You can preview it. Now you can scroll. Just move it up. Up, a bit more. So
Oh,
above
I
the
see.
canvas.
Just
There you
so
go.
that you
That's what
can
I like
have a
doing. Yeah.
reference, right?
Exactly. So you can always just open that up, have a quick look, and then collapse it again when you don't want to see
Oh,
it.
okay, and I can reroute these arrows, which
Yep.
is nice.
Yep.
Oh, very nice. Okay, I like
There
that
you go.
arrows. That arrow experience is very good.
Cool.
Thank you. Can I make these wider? So generally, like you see, oops, I have these kind of as wide as the
Not
as the
yet, because
slice.
each one of those frames like is independent. So we treat at
Right.
the moment. I mean, we can definitely work on it. But like,
Okay,
is
see,
that
this is usually how I try to have, since I kind of have my, like I'm working on this right now, or if I was, I'm done actually, but when I was working on it, I had Adam in progress, and that's how our team generally works. So if Tim
Yeah.
was working on something, he'd have Tim and then Dash in progress, and
Let
we
me
would kind
show
of
you
have
how to do
all
that.
slices assigned, to each person, and then we would turn them green when we were done.
We can do
So
that. Let's
yeah,
go to auto and I'll show you how to do that. At least not at the full slice level, but certainly at that, like let's do it on the interface. So if you just double click on that
yeah.
interface that you added there, the UI, and give it a name, like what is this interface we're looking
Where
at?
do I name it? Oh, just in here?
Just in here, yep, double click in there and
Yeah.
type it in.
So conference naming, right?
Yep,
Or spaces naming.
there we go. Now,
Okay.
you asked about making it wider. What's actually happening here is if you just hover over where my mouse is right here,
Uh-huh.
right? See that? Like that's a state change state view pattern. So if you add one of those now,
Click a plus on one of these or the little
yeah.
ones?
So the little one's going to expand the number of frames within the state change view. The top one is the whole state change or state view. So add a
Oh,
whole one
okay,
there.
okay.
So that's the
So is
width, but
this
it's still
the
quantized.
slice here basically?
Exactly. That's a
Each
slice,
slice
correct.
has 3 columns that you can make use of?
You can have as many columns as you want. It's 2+ columns. So you can
Okay.
actually remove some of those up there in the 3 dots here.
Mm-hmm.
You can remove some of them. If you just go here, you can like shuffle the frames. You
Oh,
can
I
add
see.
frames, right? You can add a frame and it will
Oh,
insert the
I can
frame
delete
before
a
or after.
frame. Okay, so
Correct.
basically I'm stuck with base default 3, but if I want to just delete a whole bunch, I can click here
Yeah.
and just do
Uh,
delete, and
yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. So two is minimum because you
2
can't
is
have more.
minimum. Okay.
All right. At least we've defined that for event modeling scripts. We've
Okay.
defined that 2 is minimum and you can have as many as you want. But usually it's going to be between 2 to 4, right? Like you're not going to have more than that.
No, generally, like when people are asking us, even when we talk about automation, we really have, just to. I expanded this
Yeah,
slice here, but it really is just. Oops. That. Uh, wanted to make a point that yeah, it's usually like this, right? So we
exactly.
have this green bar and all its given when thens here, and it doesn't really have a UI except for this particular monitoring dashboard or yeah, for the sysadmin to see like what jobs are stuck or whatever.
Mm,
That's about it. So that would be a slice. We kind of have it vertically aligned, and the reason we have that, the term slice is that we have a full stack type of approach. So moving the timeline in time one step forward includes all horizontal layers, right? So
mhm.
that's why we usually have this vertical sort of alignment. There is a bit of diagonality to it because like, yeah, this has to first be populated before, that gets populated, right? And this has to be populated before
Exactly.
the actual processor
And
kicks
that's why
off.
we have those frames. It's
Yeah,
exactly
so you
why we
can
have it
get that
stepwise.
diagonal thing. It's just they tend to go quite wide very quickly, and so
Mhm.
we want the diagonality to be kind of not as
Minimum.
emphasized, I guess, as
Gotcha.
45 degrees.
Okay,
So we
fair.
have them way steeper, if at
Mm,
all, sometimes. Like by convention, we know
mm,
because these are pointing down, these arrows, that we know that the time still progresses kind of from here to here,
mhm.
here, and then from here to here, right? It's kind of implied, but we're saving a lot of real estate by not having 45 degrees for all those lines. And it's true, like, in terms of how information flows as you investigate as time moves forward. Yes, there is this diagonal aspect to it. So okay, cool.
Exactly.
Uh,
So we've got our screen. You
yeah.
now like see where the vertical slices happen. Now, what I was saying earlier is we can add a label just real quick. You said this is in progress, right? Like so, Adam's working on this. If you just click on
Yes.
spaces naming the actual construct right
Here,
there.
this
Uh, yeah.
untitled part here.
Uh, so yeah, there's a couple of things. The untitled part would be your actor, right? And actually, you can add more lanes here to the trigger. Like you had on your screen 3 actors actually. So I'll
Yes,
just
we do.
add 3 lanes here. Yep, one more and another, and then
Oh,
give
I
each one
see.
the name
Okay,
that
so
you had.
can I rename trigger, or is that hard coded?
Right now, it's not. It's in the schema. You'd have to upload the schema app.
Okay,
So right
okay.
now, no.
Oh
But
yeah, I
certainly
would have yeah,
those
I would have
lanes
the
are your
UI
actors.
slash API or something, right? Because it's
Exactly.
sometimes the UI is replaced by automation. It's really a robot looking at its own screen, and so that's kind of why it still belongs up there.
Right, and you
Um,
can see down there you have UI and API. Both of those you can drop them under trigger, right? So the trigger lane, you can call one a robot, you can call one a human,
well, I
and then
would
that
have the
will know.
robot in the same lane, so that's one of the things that
I see.
we put the automation up here because if I have something happening like a payment being processed and on your phone you see a little spinning circle that hey,
Mhm.
the system's doing something for you. A lot of event modeling is based on UX and the user experience, and that's why we shove all of the automation steps actually to who it affects. It's more
Mm.
important to know who it affects than where it lives. Where things
Hmm.
live is really, the events that probably we'll get into in this domain thing here.
Yep.
The events anchor where things happen, really. Um, and so there's some rules such as, a green box can only subscribe from one swim lane or set of swim lanes that are bounded by, where it's deployed. So you can actually infer quite a lot from an event model. You know where things live based on which events they come from or interact with or supply. So, but the top part here is really about the UX UI.
Hmm.
We believe that systems are built for people, and so that is always front and foremost. That's why it's a top lane. It's not a detail. It's a main focus of event modeling is to be human centric, and that's what makes this highly effective for delivering software because we always have that context of how is the system doing that. And for when it comes to automation, the automation is indicated up here. I'll show you actually on our event model here. So when we get to this unique generation identifier, of course that's not something that a human does, but this is the gear. If let's say this identity generation took 3 or 4 seconds, well, this screen next would probably have a little waiting symbol to kind of help you out that hey, it's not stuck, it's doing something for you. Wait a couple more seconds, and then you'll see the next screen. That's really implied when you go from screen, waiting for a bit. Okay, here's your next screen, right?
Hmm.
So this usually, this actually happens somewhere else. Obviously, I mean, it's in the system. This is the swim lane. We have one system here, so not really that interesting. It happens in this system, and it shows a state view, and it has a state change component to actually accomplish this. But it all happens in where these participants are anchored in terms of their state. Like, where does that state get stored? Where do we have the source of truth? If we have the power go off and we turn things back on, where do we resume from? These are the anchors for that. But who do we interrupt with this automation? It's this top lane. It's this user. It's this, in this case, it is the event organizer. They're waiting for a unique identifier to be generated so they can show a QR code so that participants can start. They can show that on the projector or whatever, and all the participants at this unconference can then point their phones at the big QR code on the projector and join. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. What I've just done in the background, actually, while you were explaining that, if you hop over to the auto real quick, I just created the 4 different patterns. If you zoom out a little bit, on the right hand side there we go.
Oh
Right,
yeah,
I just created like a little introduction sort of to the what the different patterns are. So I've done a slice on the first one is a state change, the next one is
yeah.
a state view,
Oh
the
yeah,
one after that is a sort of automation. I guess
yeah.
I
We
missed
end
out
up
on the
doing this in like Miro with our clients to basically have like kind of like a default little template they can copy paste to like make their own
exactly.
slices really quickly. Yeah.
And so what's coming next is that when you click the state change, the add at the top, actually, we're going to give you like 4 menu items, so you can choose which pattern, and then it will pre-populate the template for you whenever you choose state change or state view. That's coming in the following in a week or so.
Awesome. Okay.
So then it's customized. So that's roughly like what it's supposed to look like here. So you see, you got your external events at the bottom. You got your domain where you can add more lanes if you want. Like if you have multiple aggregates, for example, that'll be there. If you have
Yeah,
multiple external systems
aggregates or subsystems.
or
We can have
subsystems,
entire bounded
exactly.
context if you're using DD terminology, but I try to use the generic terms that everyone understands, like
Yeah.
subsystems, right? So you
Well,
might
yeah,
you might
yeah.
have like a server that's taking care of your onboarding. Maybe it has. You don't want that to affect your trusted users that are using a different server once they're logged in. So you might have that on a different server. So whether it's logical or physical separations, we use those swim lanes. And yeah, if you want to go down to the logical model within a system of talking about entities or aggregates, you can definitely give them their own swim.
Right. And so right now I'm drawing the arrows manually, but again, in a future release, all these arrows will be drawn automatically because we know them, right? Like we know from the sequence of events that you've put, the sequence of items, the arrows should automatically link up. So that's something we can take away from you. Like the
Oh,
less you have to fiddle around, the better it's the experience is going to be for you to create event models. If
yeah.
it infers your intention, then that's good. That's basically what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, no, that's great. There's a question from Yurtis in the chat. How
Yeah.
can I get access? Well, they can go to https://
Yes.
on.auto, which just passed by. So
There you go. If you sign
so
up,
I don't think
yeah.
people know that you've opened this up, because I think you've been talking to, I think you know Yordis from the chats. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure you guys exchanged some chats
I'm
before.
probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste the link to the Discord that we're on as well, like just now in the event modeling we're
The
in the
live stream,
live
yeah, yeah.
stream
If you
chat.
put in
Yeah.
the live
All
stream
right, so I'm
chat,
putting it
then
right there. Whoever comes to that Discord there, just ask for access. If you're part of the event modeling community, you will be welcome.
oh, okay, cool. Okay, but if they go to on auto right now, are they able
You
to
just get
just?
you just get an email, like it's just
Oh,
a
it's just
landing
an
page.
email.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay,
get an
okay,
email,
okay.
and then
So
we'll onboard you. We'll just
okay,
hop on
so
and onboard you.
Yordis, you're gonna have to get onboarded. Follow the link.
That's right.
Request it. Okay, because he wants in right now. He just
All
requested it.
right.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, we'll get you on, man. I promise.
All right.
So yeah, so if you zoom out just a tad right there, so I just wanted to show the different patterns and find like what the different lanes are. And this is, like I said, highly configurable. Now, if you look at the bottom, there's specifications. So the specifications lane is where you can enter your given one then scenarios.
Oh, okay. So let's just flip back so people know what we're going to be making here.
Okay.
Alt tab here. So yeah, in our first example here, what we're going to be making is this, and this is the given when then part. And as you can see, the convention is to have some history being built up. But again, each of these these arrows start a new timeline. So sometimes it's just one, like this one on the right is just one timeline where we just keep building up things. And as we encounter more and more different events, we show how this model changes as it absorbs all those. And it always looks on the previous row. So this is what we're doing. And in here, it kind of expands on like, well, how does this dynamic piece of information, how can it respond to a different, prior history of events that have happened? And this is where you get to show that. So for people that want to do this type of development, a slice has these given when then specifications, and in here is the default one. There's no previous events up here, so this is the default view, and then we insert one new event. You could have this on a diagonal to kind of show time moving, but it's just easier to have grids than diagonals and hexagons. It's a little bit easier to program. So this is, we introduce a new event, and that shows that this name is set here. And then we have another name set, and sure, it changes it again, and so on. And that's all it does. And then at the end, we just have, whatever the last one was. This one actually shows that it ignores a non, in this case, we have date set, and we show that it doesn't affect the name of the conference. Because you can think of the name of the conference could actually be a projection of like, hey, this is the name of the conference, and in brackets, the dates. That's a valid name of a conference, right? And that might be what we want to show in this box if it was a different set of requirements. But in this case, we can say that, yeah, it's actually ignoring all that other information. So it's totally valid to have those in here, even though we haven't specified them yet. So that's the given then, and this is the given when then, which is a little bit different. Should I go into the mechanics of this or no?
No, I think the best thing is just to see if we can transfer it over. So
Yeah.
I haven't done exact, because this is quite an innovative, like continuous given when then sort of approach you're taking here. It's not really a formal thing. So
I used to do them. I used to do them in a sparse way like this before too, where I would have, just here's a sample history, and then what does the green box look like, and then here's another sample history. What does it look like now? And for the given when thens for commands, I would also have just some arbitrary history, then give a command, and then test for an event as a result, or a test for an exception if it didn't work. That would give me. I realized that there was so much overlap that I might as well put that on a common timeline, because then I can, there's some sparse stuff here. I could combine all these to be the same timeline if I wanted to, probably.
Yeah.
I think I have another one of those examples.
You don't have to. I like that's the whole point. You want to have the flexibility to do it either way.
Exactly. And so the abstraction is that there's a timeline within a given when then, and sometimes you can have one test per timeline, as in this case, but I do have an example of this further down the line where we don't. For example, here, we keep building on providing IDs as this history keeps growing, but we can test that one particular command called provide ID multiple times. Yeah, and here we basically say that the expectation is, sorry, the exception is no request exists exception, because someone's trying to provide an ID, but there was no request made, and that's invalid. So now we have unique ID requested, unrelated event, and then we provide it, then okay, then it does it. It actually puts it on the ledger that it worked,
Mhm.
and
Are
so
you,
on.
are you
So this builds up a history. This is one
are you
that's continuous.
are you able to copy the content of that you have there so we can just bring it over into Auto? Not the visual as an image, but I mean as like the text, the content.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I want to keep going with
Yeah.
left, right? So
Yep.
we want to now. Do we want this one? The next.
Cool. Yeah. Let's do it. Is
Okay,
that
so
is that a separate slice then, or is this the same slice?
this is the same slice. So I usually expand the slice to show. This might be a good reason why you want more columns in a slice, because we do sometimes show trivial things that just walk people through. This is a good example,
I have another way
where
to
we
do that.
where we
So,
might actually want to have some UI changes as people navigate through menu links or something like that. There is no state change or anything really interesting to talk about, just that this is what people do. And so
yep.
we might lump them into one slice. And we do that a number of times here. Usually it's like, what is the default view of the screen? And then what happens when you fill it out? What happens when you fill it out? And then that's actually when the
Yeah.
actions go.
Gotcha.
So
Makes
generally,
sense.
yeah, this is an expanded slice to kind of show what's your default view. And then when you add some information and click the add button here, what happens after that.
All right, so let's copy that one thing right there. So there's a couple of ways we can do that. If you grab the image, the second screen in the first slice,
Mm-hmm.
let's get it in there, and I'll show you there's two patterns we can use.
Okay. Okay, and I think I'll just save it.
Yep. Let's go.
I'll
You can put the enclosing folder, grab it along.
containing folder, and back here, and I want to drag and drop this. Right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly, the file. Now you're going to go to your model, which is on the left-hand side.
I just wanted to put it in here. I dragged it and dropped
there
it.
We go.
There it
Yeah,
is.
no,
Okay.
the spinner's not appearing for some reason, so I'll cue
Sorry,
over.
what's not appearing?
There's a spinner that should appear when you're uploading. For some reason, it's not
Okay.
appearing.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a couple of ways we can represent this. One is we can grab this and just add it to the same screen, and you can actually have two of these attachments on the same screen if you like.
Oh,
That's
okay.
option one, right? And I can undo that and just bring it back. Option two is you can just add another UI and just grab it onto that screen as well. And this is like, second state. All right, like whatever that second.
Yeah, I wouldn't
So
use the word state because we haven't really changed state
Yeah,
yet.
no, that's true. Sorry, that's not bad wording. My bad. Second screen, like yeah.
Yeah, second, or just
Whatever it's called.
you can actually say what's happening. I think it's better to not say second. We say form filled out, right, or something like that, or filled out form.
Filled form, yeah.
Yeah, and so that gives developers a lot of clues as to what to do. So it's an opportunity to specify some of the intricacies of the UI, what that is, and I think it might be a good option for some of the client-side validation too. You might expand a couple more columns and show that it'll catch if it's a date entry. It's not going to allow you to or a time entry. There's no 72 minutes or whatever in a minute field and things like that, right? So those things that are not that important, but they contribute to the UX helpfulness, you would put in there. So totally valid to keep using those. So you might have like something that has more of these top rows filled,
and you can do that too
in that slice, and you only drive down to where the state actually gets saved to the back end of that.
All right. There's also colors and all sorts, just like Miro. So we support those, if you notice that, are going on there. Okay, cool. So we've got those slices represented, at least, sorry, the UIs represented.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you had was
the command. So I want an intent. I want to change the. So we have a command. So I want a command. So I'm going to drag this here.
Yep,
it's not automation.
So when you drag it, it'll go on intent. Just if you start dragging it, it'll show you where you can and can't put it. So
I put it in the automation, which is wrong.
Well, it won't. Yeah,
here.
There we go. Exactly.
Intent.
You see how it gives you red and green. Basically.
Oh yeah. I can't put it in these ones. Okay.
Right.
Okay,
right?
cool.
And
So
again,
I
that's all
want it
user
here. Is it
defined.
okay for me to put it in the same column?
Yeah, sure. That's up to you.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's your
Okay.
style.
And then here I want to use this little blue thingy,
Yep.
right? And attach it
There
here.
we go.
Okay, so now I know that my information is flowing this way.
Yep.
Here I have nothing. Here I have an empty form. I fill it out. I press the button, and it
Ah,
makes a command. And now I can also just name it, right? So
yep.
name
Hmm.
name conference, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Space, whatever it's called. Okay, that it's a little tiny. Does it?
Yeah, you can zoom in. Yeah, if you put a space, so actually, I want to show you something here. You should name these here something that is human readable, not necessarily the command. I'll tell you
Oh,
where the
okay. So just
command
put
itself goes.
spaces in there. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay.
absolutely.
All
Feel
right.
free to put spaces. Now,
Name open
let's
space.
move
Okay.
let's move to the next sort of bit of functionality. Click on that command that you just created.
Yeah.
And now I want to define some more details. So click on the top icon that just appeared there. That's
Yeah.
going to open the sidebar. And now if you expand that sidebar, that's where you create the schema on the right hand side. Sorry, it opened
Oh,
it.
okay. So I can basically
Sorry,
have
the left. Sorry, the right side. On the right,
oh,
there's
right
a
side.
schema.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Oh, I
another.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can
So
basically type stuff in here.
exactly,
So
you can expand that
namespace.
side a little bit. Make some little
Oh, I see.
room. So this is actually Visual Studio Code Monaco in here. It is actually a full code editor. Right now it's just doing JSON, but just know that it's an editor. We can do a lot
Oh,
more.
okay. So here I can basically say
The schema for the command.
name.
Name string. That'd be a string. You
Oh, you
define the
want
schema
string.
here.
Okay. String.
Sorry, my bad. I was just saying this would be name string, as in like, I'm defining the
Oh,
schema for
name.
this. Yep.
And then I can say my conference.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, I was gonna. What I was saying is that in the way we like to do it, it's up to you. You can do it however you want. But the way we like to do it is we define the schema here. So this would be name, and we're saying this is a string, and we're saying like, for
Oh, I
example,
see. I see.
address. This is like a complex object of some other stuff. And by defining the schema here, it means that later when we define the given when thens, we have instances of that schema, and so now we have this data
Okay, so
integrity.
basically I would have just the schema here. This is not actually the example data.
Yeah. Now that's just how we work. You can
Mhm.
have example. It's up to you if you
Yeah.
want to put
So yeah,
example
one of the,
data
one of
here.
the differences that obviously you'll see in let me go back to our event model is that yeah, we don't sweat the schema yet.
Mhm.
Um, we basically want you know
Just to talk about the
the
data
actual
right now, the
data.
data flow.
One of
Yeah.
so it actually touches another goal of an event model is one of its primary benefits. This is slightly on.
Yeah. That's
Anyway,
why we make these tools.
yeah, exactly. So one of the important things about event modeling is because we're not defining schemas here, but we're using
Mm.
example data. A bigger value that we feel in terms of how we work is the ability to trace data flow through the system all the way along to to basically reach a goal of showing information completeness. It's basically an audit of saying like, have we thought of everything in here? Am I making an assumption that some piece of data was imagined and didn't actually enter the system anywhere here? So
Yep.
if I have, you know, I don't know, this word Adam here, did I actually have a registration with Adam? There's Alice, there's Adam, signing up here, right? Okay, so I actually do have that information here. When I register, there's the name Adam with this registration, right? So this is called information completeness. That I have this
Yep.
registrations thing, and it did show that, and I can actually show this with this link, right? See,
Hmm.
it's coming here. This is called information completeness and showing example data. So even
Yeah.
backtrack more. A lot of event modeling inspiration comes from behavior-driven development and specification by example. And
Would
this
go
is the
add
core of
tick.
the example, is that you're giving actual data of what it would look like to enter that data in on a screen, have it used, processed. Maybe there's some extra data generated by automations, but you can always trace through the whole specification where that's going to get used and that you're not making stuff up. One of the biggest problems with writing information, just automating information systems, writing systems, programming, is incomplete requirements. We can't, just like developers want to keep us honest to do a good job, not bike shed, not make up stuff. We got to keep business in honest as well. Did you give us complete specs? Are you making stuff up? Are you assuming that the system has something that it doesn't, and you're sending us down a wild goose chase to fail? Things like that, or painting a picture of something being less complex than it really is, and then holding us to those unrealistic expectations. This is why event modeling is this common ground to basically say, well, can you explain how it works? Then I can make it for you, right?
Yeah.
And vice
So
versa.
that information completeness check, we're thinking a lot about that, by the way. So thanks to you and Martin for writing the book about it. But the way I'm looking at that with the team is that we want it to be almost like a linting, like how your IDE just lights up in red when you do something
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, yeah.
Same thing here should happen. So going back to auto, if you go there, like please feel free to put the test data, sorry, the sample data, example data. So specification by example.
Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, I used to actually work with Goiko Adsik. I've had the pleasure
Yeah,
of
yeah.
being
Very
in the
famous
same.
guy in
Yeah,
that in
yeah.
that world. Yeah.
We had a funny joke once. He was at my brother's house for dinner, and he said anything that doesn't have meat in it is just a starter. So there's um,
That's funny.
so yeah, like what this is making me think is that where we have you said something that rang in my ear is that we don't worry about the schema yet, and I think that's definitely the right way to go about it. Like worry about the information flow, and once you have that exemplified by way of specification by example,
Hmm.
then you can infer the schema as a second step to say,
Well, you
okay,
can
I'm
make
now
a
going
decision of what schema and what data types would actually fit
right,
best to facilitate
exactly,
that
that makes sense.
information being stored and transferred and whatever else you need, right?
So that's good insight. I think we'll, as another iteration, we'll just give you like a tab view there. So one is like you start with your test data, and then in second, as a design activity, you can do the
Yeah,
second part.
yeah. And I mean, I'm also as soon as I'm done with this, I really want this to be a complete. People are asking for like a complete, from specification to implementation example of something that works and can be usable. So even after all these years, there's very few realistic, simple implementations of this. So I'm working on implementing this just with a file system to store the
Yeah.
events. There's no actual database, just to show how simple it is. And
So
so the
one thing I
goal.
didn't go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing I haven't revealed, at least not to the wider group. I know I have to you, is that this event modeling that we're doing in Auto is actually producing files behind the scenes that belong to you that are hackable. So everything you're looking at right there is in the same way in Linux, everything is a file. And if I'm able to share my screen further after sometime in this call, I can show the group. Everything is a file. Every single entity you're grabbing on there, moving it around, and the specs and everything, they're all
Oh yeah,
files.
no, you shared this with me. I
Yeah,
don't know if
I
we
did,
can
yeah.
share that. Do you want to share
Yeah.
that at some point?
If I can yeah, if I can share my screen today, I can absolutely show that.
Yeah,
And
I
just
mean, we
to
can
add,
go into that right now because I think that's a really cool part, and I think people would want to know how this works behind the scenes. And if you have
absolutely,
that available,
I
let me
do.
see if I can do try sharing now.
Share
You
my
should be able
screen.
to
Okay,
pop up on
give me a
there.
moment. All right, so
I'm just a small little
make
head in the corner,
selection.
and we lost the chat on here, so chat won't be displayed. Okay,
Okay.
let me just zoom in on that. I have to click on this myself, I think.
Okay. I'm gonna go to my
There. I think I'm
window.
sharing now.
So
Yep.
you can see my window right now.
I can. I certainly. Let me
Okay.
just zoom in a bit more. It's kind of
Okay.
not ideal for.
As if we're
The
sharing
beautiful
because
thing
of the.
about OBS though is that I can just change this on the fly.
So notice what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open up the console. I mean, I could have showed you how to do this as well, just to show you how it works. But I can just do model.serialize right now. And if you look at this here, this data structure that we just created, like basically everything is a file. Like this
Yep.
space is naming, like this is
That's
entities, event
awesome.
model, slice 0, UI filled form, payload. Like every single thing here you're looking at is actually
So,
like
but it's a web page. So where is this sitting on the server? Or is it sitting? Are you using something else? Where's the
This is
file?
all using CRDTs. So this is basically a shared data type that's across my computer, your computer. It's meshed, and then it's also being saved into S3 as basically the primary storage. But then what we also do, if I just hop over now, so you can see this is like the JSON version of these files.
Yep.
And what I have here is I have a piece of code that then takes this input, this JSON as input, and what it does is it generates. Can you see my
Yep.
IDE?
Yeah. We can see it.
Yeah.
I
And so
think
what you,
people can see it. I don't know.
I
Let me
hope
just.
so.
I think so. I'm
And
just
so,
checking the YouTube channel here. Yeah,
okay.
I see your screen. We're
So
just
there you go.
behind a few seconds here on YouTube.
Okay, I'll see if I can make this a little bit. It won't let me zoom the left-hand side, but what you're looking at here is I can convert that the serialized version of that data that's over here. I can then I've got a function that converts this into files, and so this is something now that you can commit into your Git. So here's my event cart created under slice 0 is a directory. So this like basically what I'm saying is this here, this
Yeah,
this command, for example,
yeah,
would end up showing here as command dash name open space with an ID, and then it will have a payload, and you can open up the payload and you can see what's in what you wrote on the
nice.
on the right hand side.
Yeah,
So this makes it extremely hackable, and that means because everything's a file, even the transition, like this line that you draw from here to here.
yeah,
If I show you, if I open up this event and I open up transitions, it's got symlinks to the command
that's
that this
awesome.
links to it, right?
Yeah,
And so
that was really fun to see when you showed me this the first time. Wow, you're even making symlinks for this? Like,
that's right.
tomorrow,
And look,
Chris Condra
it
and I
goes
are going to go into the event store kind of implementation, how you write an event store database,
exactly.
and we're going to be using symlinks for
Oh,
indexes and things like that. Where do you
very
find
cool.
stuff? Just make symlinks to things as well, and for different things. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Or even hard links, right? For some implementations that are
Good.
specific. Yeah. So
There's a bit of a
um,
delay there, by the way, on my side. I
sorry.
was talking over you. I apologize.
Yeah.
So now that we've got this in the file system and highly hackable, well, we actually have a process as well. That first we take whatever you defined into a file system. Then the next thing we do is actually we use a combination of code gen and AI to produce the code. Let me see if I've got an example of that somewhere here. So this is temp. Here's my incoming model, which was a large model. And then here's the source files. And now I converted that through, first of all, a process of code gen into, so there's the slice architecture. This is
Yep.
slice 1, slice 2. It's got a GraphQL endpoint. This is now TypeScript. It's converted that command into a TypeScript command from the command that was the file system payload.
Hmm.
So now I have a converter that converts file system into actual code. And then finally, this aggregate, it's first of all filled empty like this, like the code gen creates it empty. And then we have an AI code gen that takes the specifications that you put in here, these specs, right, which
Yep.
basically became a test. And then it keeps running that against the code until the AI implements it and until it gets it right.
That's
And we
awesome.
have, but basically, what I'm trying to say here is you'll be able to just draw your model on here, and you'll be able to click deploy and deploy that model directly to an AWS Lambda
Yeah.
or whatever your target architecture is.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know what? One thing that we had, I think we discussed this on I discussed this with Martin on the podcast, is just how how much better an event source system, event model system is for AI because it has
Absolutely.
this linearity, like this time continuation via a timeline. And when you're using an AI, like if you understand how large language models work, they're just predicting the next word given some history. And so here we're building on the previous steps in an event model. And so they go very well hand in hand in terms of how the workflow generally works for mixing AI with whatever you're doing. I think there's like an all or nothing shotgun approach in AI, a lot like make me a Tetris game, make me the Python, make me a snake game in Python, right?
Search space is way
Like
too big.
it's all or nothing. It's just like boom, and then it's like, ah, you kind of didn't get it right. Can you add this little thing? And then things really start to go sideways. Whereas here you can build incrementally on these slices bit
Exactly.
by bit, right?
Exactly.
And that really feeds well into just how AI works. So if you're going to be, it's my opinion, and highly biased here, obviously, but if you're doing event modeling and event sourcing, you're going to have a much easier time with just the way the world's changing due to AI.
You know, we're banking on this, honestly. Like
Yeah,
this is, the vertical slice architecture means that exactly what you said. Instead of giving the AI, hey, here's a ginormous search space for you to hallucinate within, you're actually saying, actually, here's a very finite space that you have to code, along with very finite specifications, with very finite example data. And this the search space then for it to solve the problem becomes exceptionally small, and it's really good at it. And so
yeah,
that's exactly what we're doing here is this structured approach that allows you to go from file system to then go into source files. And then just want to show you this concept we've got called architecture as code,
sure, yeah,
AAC.
yeah,
So this is event modeling, TypeScript, Lambda AWS. So the first thing that happens is we do scaffold code gen. So that takes whatever code you've got up there and then it converts it. And that was the model to files function that I showed you earlier.
Yeah.
So that converts it to files. Then the next step it does, this is like a framework. The next step it does is it'll do the developer agent, which will basically run right now we're using Anthropic, and it will run through Anthropic and develop the slices one by one.
Mhm.
Once they're developed, we have a runtime for them. So now this is something that I did with GraphQL and so on, but you can do one easily for REST or whatever your runtime is. And the framework here we're using in-memory event store along with the aggregate based framework, like basic framework I wrote for event sourcing,
Yeah.
that allows us to run it. And finally, we have a deployment that deploys it directly to Lambda. And so the combination of all of these things together means that you've got architecture as code. Everything here is going to be open source. So this is for the community to build and hack on. We're just getting it working
Yeah,
first
you
of
can
all so
make
that we can.
different technologies in there if you want.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You can make
yeah,
it go to Java. You can make it use
yeah.
Axonic. You can make it use, whatever, like write it to flat files, whatever you want. We're going to make this open source, this architecture as code, and really have the ability for the community to hack on it. And finally, I mentioned earlier, this here is all configurable. It's all one package, right? So like when we look at this event model, event command, the slices, everything that's here, along with the architecture as code, that's what you own. That's what you define on auto. You push that up, and now you have this platform that executes all of this stuff for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I
Yep.
like the way that the whole community is evolving this way. They realize they can't build everything themselves, so this entirely. I think
Exactly.
it's pushed from this like tech agnostic point. It's like, okay, but I work in Elixir, or I work in JavaScript, or I work in .NET. Why can't I use whatever you're doing? And I think we've had previous attempts at this, but people were highly focused on their favorite language or framework. And I think when we start to look at just this higher level information flow and seeing these state changes being more agnostic, we can leave the details to the AI. If we have really good, I mean, the first time I saw this was giving this when then. I made this when then. We should probably start coding the when then down here,
Yep.
just so we keep
Yep. We'll do.
making progress. But
Yeah.
when I had a first given when then specified in that format that I showed earlier, AI got it 100% right in the first, no hallucinations. It
Yep.
even gave me. I mean, I was kind of knocked out of my chair when I saw it, because it not only gave me the implementations for the tests, it gave me the actual implementation that made all the tests pass.
Hmm.
And on top of that, the cherry on top here was that it gave me an extra assertion that I overlooked.
Interesting.
It was in a renaming. It asserted that the old name didn't exist in the collection as well, which I forgot to check.
Very
It
interesting.
was just That's when I saw, okay, we're onto something here. This is it's a 5-year-old child like AI right now, right? And it might be an 8-year-old child in a couple of years. It might be a teenager in two
Exactly.
more. But at this point, everything benefits from articulating what you want properly. And I don't see the old way of use cases and other things that we had. They were too loosey goosey. They were too
Mhm.
much subject to interpretation. They were missing things. They were very manual. They weren't highly auditable. There was a lot of make work project that in my opinion made people seem important or whatever, and then you just had people that would stick their noses to paper and just write crazy long specs just to be more complete, and that looked like really good work, but it just added confusion. You couldn't even audit the work to see if the specs were working against one another, if there was some impossibilities
Mhm.
being written in there. It looks impressive. Look at this thing I wrote. It's like 100 pages long. Give me a raise, right? All that stuff goes away. All that
Been
stuff
there.
goes away.
I've been there. I feel the
Yeah,
pain.
we've all
Hey,
been
listen,
there, and we're
Panama.
sick of it, right? We had the same, like
Exactly.
Agile came up because I finally learned that people got really abused in the 80s in the tech sector. Agile didn't go out to make tech be better. It was actually to disempower some of the previous power structures and factory
Mm.
like type of environments that were done there. So I've only learned about that history recently. And I think we're in the same space here where we're kind of looking, okay, the next level of bad patterns in tech in terms of how we work and especially how we manage projects. We're addressing those now. And so there's
Mm.
this real collaborative design movement that's happening. Event modeling is a big part of it, but there's also domain storytelling. There's a whole bunch of other things out there.
Indeed.
but generally, like this co-evolution's happening, right? And it's neat to see.
It is. It is. So on your side, just notice by the way, there's this compact mode, and I'll get rid of the majority of the bar here once you know what everything is. So you can do that
Yeah.
on
Oh,
your
let
side.
me switch views again, so
Just
we're
yeah,
back
yeah.
to
Just before you do that,
uh-huh.
I just going to show you one last thing.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, there's loads to show. I can
No,
go on
no, no.
forever.
Keep going. I didn't know if
Um,
you were done yet or not. Yeah.
no, no, it's okay. So
Yeah.
this here, the screens right now, you're just dropping screenshots in, but I just
Yeah.
want to show you like what we're actually working on next. So we're working on a balsamic style UX sketcher, and you'll be able to draw the screens that you want directly in here
Nice.
using this approach. And if you've already defined your command and your queries, the AI can help suggest this screen for you to begin with.
Nice.
Um, and so, we've got like a ton of stuff coming. If I show you this concept here, we have this idea of like soon coming. Like once we've done all the basics underneath, you'll have this open mic concept. You'll switch the mic on, and then the AI will be listening to what you're saying, and it will be co-authoring the model with you, making
Mm-hmm.
sure that it's going to be correct. So
Oh
anyway,
yeah.
just wanted to give you a very quick
No, no,
preview of like
that's
where we're going with this.
everyone's been talking about this. So there's a lot of co-evolution happening here because everyone wants to, we've had discussions. Oh, let me get to the
Oh,
next the
sorry. Yeah.
previous view. It's all good. um, yeah, we've had these types of discussions before as well, and our thing. Nope. You disappeared all of a sudden. Oh, I know why. I
Oh,
have
you
to
have
go
to
back
change the
here. I have to
scope.
click on your.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, good. You're back.
All right.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, so this idea of can I get an event model by recording a collaborative meeting that we had discussing a new product or a new service? Let's say you, me, and another person, Yordis, let's say, are discussing something and we record the entire conversation over 2 hours. Can I just take the transcript of that and get something that we're looking at behind me from it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly
we're
right. It's
we're
just
we're nearly there.
I think it's more like I actually don't think that's as useful. I think that's just how we think about maybe doing it today. But if you imagine instead an event modeling native interface like we're building right there, and you switch on the open mic concept, what it should be doing is building up context of everything we're saying because it's in passive listening mode,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
that when we ask it something the next time, that context has been saturated, and then
yeah,
that way
yeah,
it's
yeah.
more likely
I
to
get it. I mean, there's the idea that you can have like understand what these people were discussing and give your best shot, which is
exactly.
like the shotgun approach. And I get it. Like this interactive approach is way better. It's like, hey, Sam, let's talk about the product that we need. I think you need to make an unconference organization thing. What are some of the things that we're going to need there? What should we start with? Probably organizing the conference. We probably will need the name for it, when it's happening, the rooms in that venue, and we probably need some time slots throughout the day. So we should probably have screens for all of that in a wizard-like way to do that. And as I finish that sentence, I should have bloop, 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 these things that I have right here pop up,
Yep.
right, behind me. And say, okay, now once we organize the conference, we should probably show a QR code that the participants can then scan because we're going to put it on the projector, and then they can start to suggest the topics they might want to talk about. And then after they're done that, we can have another phase, and then they can vote for which ones they like. And then boop, 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 we should see more there. But we can go back, and if it made something that we didn't like, let's say, oh, we shouldn't have, we should have a limit on the number of votes, so don't put a checkbox beside every single topic there. Let's have 5 tokens per person to use them on whatever, and so there should be a counter of how many tokens they have, how many they used, and like which ones they voted for, right?
Which
That's the kind of interaction that we can have. And then as you're saying here, I don't know where this is, not on my screen obviously because it's
no,
not in this.
that was the user experience. That was in Figma.
Yeah, that's a big
Um,
one, so that's
yeah.
kind of exciting to see coming in later. um,
So just
uh,
to carry on with this, I know like we can talk forever about a whole bunch of stuff. If you want
yeah,
to
sorry, it
click on
went
the
down a rabbit hole, but there's so much to
contact,
discuss, and it's so nice to see different perspectives on getting these goals met through different approaches. And I think the ideas are fundamentally very similar. Like
indeed.
what you're saying, this interactive mode, absolutely. Like, why can't I talk to this screen right now and say, oh, I don't want to drag and drop more pictures here, just make the thing for me. I want to have a screen that has this, and then give me a menu that allows me to move to whatever screen I want in that workflow,
Yep.
in all these screens,
Coming soon.
right?
Watch this space. It'll be here within a matter of, I'm always optimistic about the timelines. Hey, do you want to just click compact mode right there in the toolbar? Give us some more real estate down the bottom. The
Oh,
toolbar
okay.
itself, right there. Boop. There we
Oh,
go.
that's
So
kind of cool. Okay,
yeah,
compact mode and
yeah,
non-compact mode. So this is kind of like when you're getting going. So you have,
exactly.
okay, well let me just drag an event here, and then
There
this
we go.
is named, conference named.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hold on a second. Something wrong with the typing here. I think I'm just too.
Is it?
This is just too small right
Oh, I
now.
see. If it's jittering, I think I know what it is. We have a little bug I'm trying to fix.
Oh, is
Let me
it?
see you.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah.
One
It's
second.
just,
I know what that is.
can
Right.
I
Try
paste
again.
something in instead to
Try
get
again
back
now.
past it?
Just try to write now. It should hopefully work. Yeah, it's when two users are on there. I know what's happening. I've got a debounce thing. Just
Okay, okay. Um, so open space named. Okay, so we have that, and then of course I can drag this down to that.
now you don't
Cool,
have
and
to.
then
My preference is I put them sequentially, but of course you can absolutely put them
oh,
vertically
like
as
you
well.
want them here,
That's just up
and
to you.
like
I'm just
that,
saying
and
like
then add
that's my
another one
style.
here, right?
Yeah, that's typically my style because I like time. Time
Yeah, no,
sequence.
that's good. I mean, as long as there's what I would like is a collapsible view of these. Like I know I have three things, but can I see it just squished because I know what's happening?
Yeah,
This is a
yeah, it's
state
a good.
change for me. So I want to
Mm,
see. I want to kind of have like an accordion kind of view,
mm.
just
Yeah, I
like
get
this,
you.
compact mode on down here. Like you
Yep,
have
and it
this
just basically squishes
compact
it up
mode.
into just a very thin vertical, and then when you want to edit it, you can open up
Yeah,
into a
like
pretty
this,
quantized
right?
view. Yeah, yeah, I
Right.
got you.
And I mean, even it won't make because these are kind of they jigsaw together, right? You don't
Mm,
have an event on the same thing; they can collapse into a more vertical one. That's what I was talking about. This 45-degree line for moving
mm.
things over and all that. So
I mean, technically, the cell doesn't have to be big. Like the items can overflow in the cell as long as like the column could be super thin, and then you'd get the same effect without even having to accordion. But we'll hack on it. We'll hack on the UX. I see what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. So so the next slice, I
So let's do
don't
the
kind of see where
specifications
the
first.
state would go. Would the state go here? Because this is
Exactly.
intent, but for
Yeah,
me, intent is
command.
misnamed because if
Yeah.
I have a watermark kind of in the event model, right? So if I go back to here, we kind of see that the blue and green boxes are kind of like the top of the water.
Yeah.
The
So what do you call that lane? Like we called it. I called it
It's a
intent. But what do you?
timeline. Usually that's where I have a timeline. If I have an explicit arrow that shows a timeline, it's
Mm,
usually either above or
okay.
below this. I really don't care. But
I mean, it's
it
technically the
really
intent
is
of
the
the
system
system.
boundary kind of
Okay.
thinking, right? So it's a system boundary. Things that are going into the system as new information are blue, and then information that's being projected out, calculated and displayed somewhere or used by by a automation
Hmm.
is green. And so I call this the kind of the water line,
Okay.
which is, everything is underwater below here. It's in the system, it's state, it's just things that give me facts.
Got it.
And over here we have the interactions of how those things get in and out of the system. And up here is the UX, the usability piece, which kind of shows who is this for, who is responsible for creating these things, etc. So that's kind of like the basics, the basic layout of an event model. And so we keep this as a watermark. I don't really, maybe I should have a better name for this swim lane. It's not really a swim lane. It's really like an area, um, a boundary within the event
We
model,
could we
right?
could call it IO. Technically, that's another way to look
Could
at it, isn't
be,
it?
yeah, could be IO. I mean, yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things is that the typical rectangle system diagram is you have an input arrow going into one side and output to the other. Here we kind of stretch that out over time, where it's a zigzag back and forth. Anytime that something comes in, it's blue. Everything's anytime something comes out, it's a green. And it's just a better visual cue. It's also how we bill clients for all this kind of work because we have all
Right.
this stuff to develop here, all this stuff to develop here. So basically, these blue and green boxes are the units of work, and that's kind of how we do fixed costs. Because we all agree that they all should be same amount of money if we have a
Mm.
good average, this projects, etc. And that really helps. the billing side of things.
Yeah, it's very unique. So why don't we just get at least one slice done to this
Yeah.
session, and we go.
Can we?
So
So let's the
let's
spec.
grab a
Let's not
specific.
get distracted by this. I kind of
No,
did
no,
it to your specification. So
that's okay.
you said the specification can be done here, right?
And the
So
bottom.
let's
Yeah. So
see
if you
if
grab a
there.
GWT from there,
Yeah.
yep, and that goes to the bottom lane right there, exactly.
Okay.
Just drop it sorry, it has to dock inside of one of the squares. It's
Yeah, that's
currently
what
not
I
docked.
thought. So can I drag it? Okay.
It should do. Like, just let's see why is it not dropping in there? Do me a
It
favor. It
kind
looks
of
like a
is.
bug. No, it's not. It should be docking. So just move the script on top. Something to do with like there's a geocache is what we call it. If you actually let me go on the board one sec. I'll do something. Just needs to update something real quick.
No
It's a
worries.
bug.
You know the insides of it, so.
Yeah, that's right. So what I'm gonna do is just move this a little bit. Okay, try now.
Okay, just to reset its position. Ah,
There
it
you go.
worked.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
Turn
yeah.
it off and
So
on.
yeah, exactly. It's it's crazy the amount of stuff you have. This is a B tree in the background for it to actually recognize like where it's going on the canvas, which cell it belongs to. There's so much
Cool.
trigonometry and math going on to make this stuff
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah. I think
Um,
Martin was pulling his hair out, trying to do that in Miro because it's even worse. Their API, at least Draw.io even has like even though it's kind of crappy. I know that when I make the connections, the XML behind the scenes does give me the proper like
mm,
element IDs for what this line is connected to and that this is connected to this. Miro doesn't have that. It's literally just
ouch.
interrogating coordinates, even for
Oh my
arrows.
god. Oh my god. That's
And you have a
horrible.
limit of 1,000 query results, right? So you have to
So
keep your own
if you
kind
give
of DOM to understand what's going on. So it's
that's yeah, I remember he posted something about that where he's keeping
yeah.
his own copy of the DOM to give him some extra powers now. So if you double click on that, give it a name, your specification. The same right now, this is the paradigm we have. It's very early. It's our very first slice of doing given when then. Just heads up, we're working on a nicer editor for it right now. So
Okay.
today it's just a piece of JSON that we're going to enter. So you can
So
give it the
this is here,
specification in
right?
there. Yep. So you open that up on the right, and then you can it's opened it already because it's untitled. You haven't given it a name. So
Okay.
if you
Can
give
I
it a
give it
name
a
there,
name here? So
yeah,
this
yeah, you
is
can.
naming,
If you give yep, and then that should also just give
naming
the same.
conference,
Yep. And hopefully, if you move your mouse away,
or
it should
open
update on
space.
the
I
right
should
hand
keep
side. It really should be
using a ubiquitous
updating.
language. Yeah, I know.
No, it really should be updating the slice, like the left hand side as you wrote that. It's just waiting until you tab
That's
away. Like
okay.
it should be real time. But
Okay, so here's a
I'll work
question.
on
I'm gonna go back to how we do given when thens in code and see if you have similar structure in your layout on your files. So here, if I go to my app.js and I look at some of these, I think I showed you this the first time I had it. So we have an interesting test runner, but the way that the tests are specified is we build up this these checkpoints on a timeline, and this is to do with wait a minute. Oh, I'm these. Okay, here. This is to do with these how we move down. Each of these rows is a checkpoint, and so I
copy
basically
that thing.
what's displayed there is there, except that the test
Is in this
happens
function
whenever there's a
within. Got it.
command. So we inline the
Mhm.
test for this. Like that correlates to this here. Sort of. This is a register command, something else.
Got
But
it.
anyway, in terms of the structure, it's the same. This blue box is really testing this command here, and the command is fed from the actual data in the JSON, which
Yeah.
which would be here.
Is it the same data that when you define the slice up high, we start by showing the data flow for the command,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like
the
right there.
same one here. So we
So
don't
that's
have any other
the start.
commands here, right?
Mhm.
If I have a unique ID requested, I don't show the command that results in this event. This is
Mhm.
just an extra precondition. So this is a sparse population of the commands that would result in any events here. So like unique ID requested, this is a specification for providing ID. It's nothing to do with requesting an ID. So we cannot put the command here. That's done here. This is the request conference ID. That's a different slice, right? When we actually have this, added here, and we have a request already exists exception. So this has its own specification, and they interleave. I mean, you could crunch these together, but that's starting to really couple the effort, and we don't want to do that. And also, it gives you fewer options on the type of necessary scenarios you want. It would actually end up being way too much in terms of trying to coordinate the testing of two commands side by side, and would also influence them. So this gives you more focus as well, that I can say, okay, this is what happens when these things. So a second request behaves as if no previous request existed if a conference ID was provided. So
Gotcha.
it can, it can ignore these things, and you can
Now this
specify
is
these labels as to what your intent is as well.
right.
And so these actually do exist in here as well. So
Yeah,
if I go down here somewhere, progress marker, right?
gotcha.
A
And
second
this is very
conference is
much your.
started.
This is unique to how you work, right, Adam? Like this, I haven't seen other.
Well,
When I look at
this
other people
is
doing things.
actually how eventmodeling.org is going to be changing in terms of the version 2 of the event modeling specification, because a lot of the questions that came up over the last 5-6 years is about how you define the exceptional cases. It's one of the number one questions, or in the top 5 questions about event modeling every time we do an event modeling workshop, is where do you put and how do you specify the exceptional cases? Yes, we have the happy path left to right. This is how it should work, but we also need to specify when things don't work and we have other, issues with the system, such as exception for something not having a request yet, or a request exists already. You don't need another one, or whatever it is that we want. You can't, or in the simple case of the naming of the conference, if you're trying to rename it by doing that, but you're putting in the same one, we're going to go into, we decide that that's an exception. But we want to show
So
those
thinking,
things.
thinking about how you're doing it here, like this approach you're taking, and how we're going to be able to do that on auto. Because everything's configurable, we're always going to think of meta. Like I've become a meta architect, not an architect.
Yeah.
So thinking about what you're saying there, the right hand side, in its current form, it's raw JSON, which means it will support, or actually we can make it raw TS, we can make it anything.
Yeah.
You could copy what you've got right now in there, and it should just work TM in terms of just the content. Now,
Right.
what
So
would
if
be
I look
nicer
at,
though,
so basically what you're saying is that
is copy this exactly.
I can just copy all of this and say, here's my test slice.
Slice,
So the slice
correct,
name,
all the way
all
down.
the way through to all
The
all
end
of
of the
that
slice.
basically.
Exactly, exactly. Now, what that's the final output that you want. And so what the next thing we can do now,
But can I
so you can
paste
just
it
paste,
here?
yeah, just press Command All and just paste away.
I have a control
Boom,
key.
like, yep. So there's okay. Come on. So there's the there's your raw data, the target data that you want. Now, on
Right.
purpose, as I mentioned, we started with just the most basic form of definition of the given when thens, as you just put on
Oops,
there.
sorry.
The next thing I think would be to give you an editor for this, right? So I think this is where we want to be able to define a visual editor that would allow you to do this, sequence of command event that you
Yeah,
showed, that
exactly.
it
Yeah.
represents,
That's
right?
what I was
So this would
thinking
be
of.
a
I am
sub-canvas on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for eventmodeling.org, there's an AI.html where basically I'm allowing people to kind of experiment with similar type of thing, because really, if you throw something to AI, it can sort of start to do this for you as well. And like you saw, this is a pretty easy thing to do in a UI. It's almost like an Excel sheet of cells, right? I mean, I
Mhm.
could do this in Excel. I could have the first column denote parts of the arrow, an ID of the timeline, you know,
It
or
would make it
merge the
much clearer.
cells down,
So
right? Merge the cells down.
we could. I
Could
mean,
merge
it's.
this as cells across. It would
I
look.
don't know.
I'm
Like
not saying
I
I'm
think
going to
last time
do
I
it.
mentioned
I'm
this,
not saying I'm going to do it.
you could use regex to solve a Sudoku
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
You know
I
what I mean?
could.
I sent you a link just now. Actually, if you quickly look on, it's in our chat on Discord. It's the underlying library that we use. It's called React Flow. If you just go to that URL, I'm going to show you something that I have in mind that will allow us to do what you're wanting to do there.
Let me just see if I can find it.
Okay.
Where in all my windows where our chat
Let me
is.
see. I can put it in the live stream if you prefer.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I should be able to find my
I'll paste
conversation.
it. I'll paste it. I'll paste it in the live stream as well.
React Fill, I got it. Just
Yeah.
as you
Okay. So
gave it somewhere else.
all right.
Yeah.
So if you look at that, like it's called a workflow builder. Like check that, and this is the dark mode we're going to have soon, by the way. So
Oh,
if you
nice.
then
Okay.
click on the plus underneath Taco, just
Mm-hmm.
there, Or I keep adding plus, and like you see, it's building a workflow, and you can interject and put items in the middle. And I'm thinking like this is actually very suitable. Like it could be you can insert left, insert right for command for event, and you'll be able to represent that structure that you're looking at in JSON, and this will be the mirror version of it in terms of a graphical approach.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what that
exactly.
just got me thinking, because then it can just keep, you're sequencing effectively.
Yeah, the only thing that's interesting here, well, not interesting, but is this a canvas, right? Can I move
It
this
is a,
around?
it is, yeah, it is a canvas, right? Like that's the same canvas we're using. So that's what I was saying. We could probably like give you some kind of like sub canvas interface on the right hand side.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we'll think about. I'm just like spitballing ideas now, but I'm looking at your workflow, and you're saying you want a way to continuously define this. Uh, you know, uh, it's a given when then scenario, but it's continuous, and it just keeps like having checkpoints in the middle of it, and that's kind of
yeah, yeah.
a
What's
unique
the next
format.
thing? What's the next step?
Yeah,
So these
yeah.
pluses down here is kind of like what you're saying. The plus could have add the next checkpoint on
Command or
time,
event or
right? What are you
checkpoint.
doing here? Are you
Exactly.
just adding another event
Exactly.
to prep more of a scenario for when you actually want to add a command? Okay, now I'm going to test it with a command, and then I expect this event because right.
And on our side, we just have it as like this abstract builder platform. You just abstract builder structure. You define what you want it to build, give it the templates for each thing you want to build, and then it will just give them to you here as you click pluses. So it sounds like we should do something along those lines. All right,
Yeah,
so we've done the first slice today,
yeah.
I think, like just in terms of inserting it into the into auto. Um,
So
and
I
that's
was hoping
basically
that this specification would have a little bit of visibility. So is that on the roadmap?
That's yeah, exactly. That's actually immediately next. That's what we're working on right now.
Okay.
We got some feedback, so from you now, and then from Jake, who's also in on auto, and now I've just got a couple
Yeah.
more people interested. We'll get them on as well.
Yeah, we're gonna have a
This is
lot more
definitely
from Jake. His onto big things in Portland, so I can't wait
awesome.
for that. And I think he's starting officially in like 3 days, so I'm
That's
gonna
right.
hold him to that. I want to
That's right.
have him on the stream, and we're gonna look at all this stuff and see what's next.
My goal is like this has got to be the go-to utility for anyone who wants to write event models.
you
I want it.
you got to have that as a goal, but there's also an opportunity to have this, like you have the right idea with having the right parts being open source, so that you have this ability to work together. And one of the worst things that I've seen in other things is this lack of open source involvement, and so it's really refreshing to see um, this approach to tech that's realizing the power of openness and open standards and things like that. I could have pushed a standard for event modeling long ago, but guess what? It would have had an inferior version of given when thens. It wouldn't have
Yeah,
had this timeline approach, and so by leaving things open, allowing things to evolve naturally in the community, we have the best of all of these efforts. Yours, Jake's, Yordis's, whoever's out there. Arian's doing stuff. There's so many people contributing to that, and so I think everyone's going to be successful when they have this inclusive attitude and approach. So thank you for that.
100% agree. No, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. I think we can probably call it a day with like this one slice, and let now I've
Yeah.
taken a whole bunch of feedback. I'm
I
going to
want
go
to
back
I
and
want to
improve it, and
do
we
I
can.
want to do more though. I want to
Yeah,
see how close we can get it. I mean, I
sure.
personally want these in here. I don't know if that's on a
You,
roadmap. I
you want them like to be sort of in line on top of
Yeah,
React
yeah. I
or
kind of
okay,
want to
got it. Yeah.
have these names just maybe loosely put up there. And notice another thing that I have in some of these other screens. Oops, sorry. I went to the wrong part. Okay, there we go. Okay, if I go to here, notice that some of the stuff is like URLs are exposed here, right?
Mm,
Right.
okay.
Sorry, the dry was
Yeah,
so bad.
I got you. I got you. I know what you're trying to do.
So right, like yeah, that's maybe a little bit of implementation specific, but it's kind of UX as well, because that means I can share links, like for things like especially I have to share the link for joining the conference. So when I have like a register, I have the ID in there, so that people at the conference know what URL to go to. That's part of the UX. So there's so many little details that can just be
Mhm.
added. I don't know if it's just you can't do everything all at once. So I think a lot of this will be metadata and other kind of like custom properties that you can shove in to this.
Okay.
And even this does have edit data I can add a property
Right.
name,
You
and
can
I
add
can do like
them.
type,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
And add property, and I can fill. I can't really read it. It's like here, but
Yeah.
it's not doesn't have a good dark theme, unfortunately. So type it could be like a Y. So then I can, and this will actually be in the XML behind the scenes. So if I parse this whole event model, I can find certain parts. I can compare their positions to see which slice I'm in, and all this kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. All excellent feedback and noted. I'm going to show you one last feature before we head off. If
Go
you
for
actually
it.
click on the command right there,
Yeah.
I mean, you click on anything, and then you see the little pop-up that comes up, the menu, once you zoom in.
Yeah.
We
Sorry,
spoke
zooming in.
about the top one, which just opens up the sidebar. Click on the label, which is the middle one.
Yeah.
So now we're going to just create a label in here. Write something, right? Like, in progress or Adam, if you want to say like
Oh,
Adam,
sure. Yeah. Okay.
right?
So yeah.
So now you can say add the Adam label. Right there,
Okay.
the first link. Yep, just click that. So now we have Adam on there, right? And now you can start,
I
if you go
can
to
do
the
in
green one.
progress, right?
Yeah, exactly. So these are abstract labels. You can do whatever you want
Oh,
in
okay.
there.
So that's the exact same thing. That's awesome.
Now, the other thing you can do though is we can start to filter on labels. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. Oh.
Nice.
So if you now click on filters well, let's add another label to the green one, let's say to the sticky there. Click on labels and just add one of those. You can also manage labels to change their colors. So you can click it there,
cool.
click on edit on any of them, and you can change the color on the left hand side to red, to green, to blue, whatever your nomenclature is.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
And then just save it.
Yeah.
Should be automatic, but we'll work on that. So okay, let's close this window. Now at the very top there on the left in the nav bar once you close this window.
Oh, sorry, I
No, that's
didn't
all right.
save.
Okay. Is it not doing it?
Oh,
Oh, there
now
it
it
is.
is. There's a bit
Oh,
of
sorry,
a
it says
delay
main.
there in terms of it kicking in. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay.
All right, so now go to filters at the very top, next to in the toolbar, nav bar, higher up.
Oh, filters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there, filters. Yep. And then you can filter by different things, like we can filter by in progress, and click it.
Uh-huh.
Boom. Right, so
Oh,
you
nice.
see
Everything
it
else is grayed out.
fades out. Yep,
That's reason.
exactly.
Yeah. Very
Right, so
nice.
that's one. And then the other thing to show you is actors. So we showed you the palette down below, you saw like the event model and so on.
Yeah.
But if you go right down and click to the one to the left of it, there's a attach, like, sorry, where the arrow is, where the selector is.
Which one here?
Right there, exactly. To the
Oh,
right of
actors
that.
here. Okay.
Right
Yeah.
there, yeah. So click on that menu. Okay, now you have a different set of menu. Grab an actor and drag it onto, let's say,
The
a command.
trigger or here?
So onto an actual sticky. So like the idea is
I
right
see.
now the actors get attached to stickies. So now you can attach this to the sticky, and now you can give this an actor if you want.
Oh,
And
okay. I
you
see.
can give it an actor name. So these are called attachments. You can have different kinds. You can have specs, you can have docs, you can have actors. We can define some more. So this might be like, Tom, if you want to personify who's doing this. You might put that on the interface instead. So click the plus right there. Okay. Now Tom has his own details. So if you click on that attachment and you click on the right hand side, you can define a description. Press slash. Once you're in there, if you click inside there, press slash.
Okay, I have to click on the text.
Yep. And now you have a full-blown Notion style rich text editor here, which also supports the Markdown.
Oh,
and
cool.
so,
Okay.
yeah, so now you can just like add a lot of information into the model. That's the idea. This is from the previous narrative work we did. So actors and documents and things like that. And if you want to get rid of the filters, by the way, it's at the top there. Just clear all filters, and that will get rid of them. Or you can also save the filter if you want it.
Oh, here.
Yep. So right to the left of that.
Oh, clear
to the
all.
right.
I just removed that last one.
There you go. Got it. All right, that was a hyper quick fly through. And finally, there's comments. So if you click on the comments right there, and you can to the left of the actor, to the right of the actor. I get my left and right mixed up.
Sorry, here.
Down the actor where you drag it from the menu.
Oh, comments. Exactly.
Yes, comments. So you can click on that, and you can put comments on stuff.
Oh, that's good. So that's like from Miro, basically. So you can comment on stuff, and that's with a lot of companies. We've used that as a way to kind of highlight parts of the event model that there was questions about what the specs meant, etc., or if there was bugs, and then people can reply to each other and resolve them and all that. So that's really helpful.
It's all in there too. So
if I click on it, I can go in there, or
so click on it and then click on anything you want to add the comment to. It will attach to it. You can drag it. Or you can just
cool.
All right, and now you can mention @Sam, and it will actually mention me in there as well.
Oh, sweet.
And that'll send me an email and get me back in there to respond to you.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
You can resolve,
that's really good. And then this is resolve, right?
Yeah, exactly. And once
you
resolve
close it, and it'll just have this. Okay. And generally, like if you zoom out, is there like a way to see a
All the
concentration
comments.
where all the comments are? Kind of like
Let me
another
see.
filter, or no?
Okay, there will be. It's not
Okay.
here. We have the data. We just don't have the interface yet
Okay,
for it.
okay, cool,
Yeah.
nice. But yeah, that's definitely yeah, keeping at least on par with Miro. But I think it could be
Grab it.
a lot more powerful, given that you're doing an event model that you can actually say, this is a comment about this particular workflow piece, and so you could give more context to the email, because if you do that right now in Miro, you just get whatever is in the comment, but you don't get like where on the diagram it is or what it's about. So,
Right. Right.
there's an opportunity here, I think, to kind of have a more info sent to who you're commenting to. If you're mentioning someone in a comment, it might be a generic one. You don't have to mention anyone, right? You can just say, "Hey, there's a
Mm.
bug here. I don't know who's going to take care of it." Or it.
Exactly.
Oh, here's an idea. So
Sure.
if I'm the one that built this slice, any comments on this slice should automatically
Ooh,
receive a notification,
interesting.
because
Like
that means
basically, you
like,
want
oh
to an
crap,
owner.
my work is blowing up,
Mm.
and I should probably just come back early from this barbecue on my Sunday and fix these things before Monday morning before I get in trouble.
Yep, fair, fair. That's cool. So, yeah, right now, like these slices don't have much in terms of like interactability at the whole slice level, but we're going to add that. You're going to have a label at the top that tells you, you can name this slice. It's going to be typed, whether it's a state change, state view, etc. So you can have that in the code. And then I think then it makes sense. We should be able to label, like we can label entities. You should be able to label the entire slice, and then also set an owner, like an attribute to the slice. So that way we can say, if I'm an owner of this thing, then all notifications should come to me as well
Yeah.
as the mentioner. So these are great ideas.
Yeah, I think we have a like the code ownership kind of, it comes up as a hot topic in
Mm.
development circles, and we certainly, for us, because we have to guarantee functionality for our fixes are free for a particular, for anything. Like, if the specs are good, you shouldn't have to pay extra for bug fixes. That's our attitude, and that's the way we've been running our business. This feature would be really important for us, because if someone has built one of these slices and there's problems with it, they're not allowed to really continue to take more slices for more work. It actually affects their income. They want to know if there's something that's
Mm.
that's not working. They want to fix it right away so they can go back to billable work, making more slices. So that would be, for us, would be a critical feature when working on fixed costs. That I built something, I want to know that I don't have to fix something on Monday. I'd rather get going on my next slice to be able to charge for that and bring more income in, and so I will, come back from the barbecue earlier, fix that up so that no one's complaining about anything on Monday morning. I can just start with my next slice. Right? Makes
Yep,
sense.
does make sense. Makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Adam, thank you so much for having me on here today.
Yeah, and that's we
Definitely the
can't wait
first
for the
of
next
many.
one. We'll give you
Yeah,
2 weeks to implement some of these things, and
yeah, that's it. Exactly. You
hold
need
your
about
feet to
that
the
amount of
fire
time.
again.
Yeah, yeah.
How's
Shoot,
that
no, it's
sound? Or
good.
a
It's
month?
good.
I
That's
don't know.
exactly what it was. No,
You
about.
tell
I
me
mean,
when, and we can do
I
this
mean,
again.
yeah, in a couple of weeks, we should have, especially an answer for the given when then. There's a whole bunch of features. There's the IDE layout that's coming that's going to change. That's going to have dark mode. Like that's all the stuff that's immediately in progress right now. And then in the weeks to follow, we'll start implementing some of the. Sorry, the other thing that's in progress right now is giving you access to the output in terms of files. So then you can hack on it however you want.
Hmm.
And then we're putting together this code gen piece as a example repository, and then we'll be able to push that out. So those are the things that are in progress right now that the team's working on. And then we're going to move to the AI that lives on the front end of this. But all the while, like ideally for us is as your team and other people from the community come and use this application, we're going to prioritize the feedback that comes back from people, right? We want this to be useful to people, not just what we think is going to be useful. And so, as an abstract modeling platform that is being now focused and dedicated to event modeling, we want to make sure we can support every event modeling use case. And so we're only going to be able to do that by getting the feedback from everyone. So that's what we'd love to get in terms of getting the app itself good for everybody. And then the other part is, yeah, we're going to push out as much of it to be open source so that event modeling as a whole is a configuration of this platform, and then we'll hand that over to you, Adaptech, and other people that want to fork it, make it their own, slightly tweak it, whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. The structured guidance of having, rows, columns, and all that really does answer the blank canvas problem of event modeling and other methodologies, there is a lot of value in the guidance and the
Sure.
automatic alignment and navigation, filtering, all these things we talked about. So thanks for all your effort. This is looking
One
very
last thing,
promising, and
very last
can't wait
thing.
for the next
Sorry.
one.
Scroll up to the left. I'm just going to leave you with this last thing. So
One
the
last thing.
folding,
Okay,
the
where
folding.
it's
Yeah,
up to the
if you
left.
just zoom out a little bit more, and then where you say where your main one here is called naming, right? Like right here, if you can
Yeah,
see my mouse, like
yeah.
just fold, like collapse that, like you do with the screenshot. So this top corner button, just collapse that.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Boom,
okay,
it's
yeah.
gone. Right. So now the nice thing here is that we can, if we collapse things, then what we can do is we can start to have flows that look like this. I'll just show you something. And you can represent like, higher order stuff. So today you said naming, the next one might be something else.
Oh
And
yeah,
what you can
well
do
I
is
can show you what that
you
is
can
in
move this
ours.
one,
So the
you can
higher
move
order
this one
stuff
this way.
is up here, right? So we have, as you can
Exactly.
see up here,
Yeah,
open
that
spaces
stuff.
setup. That's the
Hmm.
higher order one, and then naming and setting dates are the sub flows in here. So that's
So
what you're
now if
talking
you
about, right?
exactly, yep, that's what I'm talking about. There's a lag on your screen. Oh, I can see. Look on the top right, it's red. There's something wrong with the connection. Could you reload your page? See how the
No, I
connection
didn't.
shows.
I don't think I did.
Yeah. No, on the top right, there's a little connection icon. I can see it's red on your machine, in the top right of the browser of the application.
Oh, here. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So for some reason, your connection is like on and off to our store. Can you just reload your page just to like
Yeah,
give it a
I
kick?
can do that.
It's,
I have like a 3 gigabit connection, so and
oh
it's
yeah, okay.
wired.
Shouldn't
It's
be.
not wireless,
Maybe on
so
our
it's.
side. I don't know.
I usually don't
Mine's
have
a,
any issues, and the video hasn't been stuttering at all. So
no,
yeah.
it's probably something on our side. To tell you the truth. Okay, so it's blue. It's connecting.
Okay,
Uh,
so oh,
There we go.
there it
It's
is. It's
green.
green
Now it's
now.
green.
Okay, okay.
All right. So now, so that because
Oh,
I could
okay.
tell there was a delay. So yeah, now we can see like this is here, this is here. There's different ways we can represent it, and I like the staggered view of showing them. Right. So you can go like, there's my first event model, my second event model, my other one.
Hmm.
You can line them up if you want. You can stagger them. Like,
Yeah.
wanna basically explore different
We
ways of how people
definitely
work.
do go for another row when things get a little bit crazy in terms of navigation, but I think that's a limitation of just having a blank canvas. I
Mhm.
think if we have proper accordion like shrink horizontally, shrink vertically, hide and show swim lanes and things like that, we won't need that. So I'll be
Yeah.
looking, at least from my perspective, I'd always want to have them locked horizontally,
Okay. Gotcha. So you kind of
because
prefer
one
them
of the
like
problems with
this way.
that event modeling solves is that the specification by example kind of always wants to have a linear history. The minute you introduce branching is the
Mm.
moment that you lose the communication of the intent,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff, if it loses a story like format, loses how much people retain. And so we're kind of very anti showing branching. You can
Gotcha.
see branching in like sequence diagrams. Like
Hmm.
they've introduced that in UML at one point, where you can say that, okay, this result from this object here when you call this method could be this or this, and then you start to draw two arrows from it, and that just leads to a mess for communication. So we don't want graphs as much as possible. We want linearization, that everything is a story-like format for the maximum retention. While we want
Makes
people to
sense.
use an event model all the time, we also want that use to be highly effective as well.
Yeah.
We
That makes
don't
sense.
we don't want people to have to spend extra time in an event model. I want people to come out understanding the scenario within which their work fits into, and when they go away to that work, they don't find themselves having to look at the event model an extra amounts of times because it has excessive branching and it's hard to know what's going on. So
Makes
that's one
sense.
of the reasons. That's my
Perfect.
feedback. I know that others abuse event modeling and do other things to it, and maybe that's something that you just offer the freedom to do it. But
Exactly. Yeah.
I would definitely always um, do that to if there's utility in here to have a collapse all of these service rows for this aggregate or for this service or this subsystem or whatever, then I'd expect it to disappear from everything. And then I expect it to accordion itself down horizontally because I now shouldn't see any interactions with that subsystem that I hid. And so now I should see, a much shorter event model because it's ignoring, let's say, all the payment gateway stuff. Like I don't care. Our payment stuff works. Just don't distract me with that right now. I want to talk about other parts. So I'm going to hide the payment service swim lane. And now all of the workflow pieces that either attach and only let's say it's a green box. That green box only relates to, pieces that are in the event in the payment stuff. Um, I want that to disappear. And likewise, if there's a automation that calls out the Stripe, I want that to disappear. And so
Hey,
now I'm
Adam.
just looking at everything else, and I can concentrate on it. Does that make sense?
It does. So zoom into that. I just took a screenshot from my Figma. Zoom into that screenshot I just created right there. You can open it in another tab if you want to see it full screen. Um, this is the compact event model view that's coming soon.
Oh, nice. Okay. Very,
All
very
right.
good. Yeah.
So
I
this is
like
what you're
that.
talking about, right? Like just collapse all that extra detail into something super compact that I can just read very
Yeah.
easily, and I can expand if I want to talk about
Yeah,
it some more.
yeah, but I like the accordion stuff where I can say, okay, I want to concentrate on UIs right now and just like have the rest of the stuff as small little blips. I can look at
Yeah.
all the UIs, or vice versa. I don't care about the UIs. I'm dealing with some payment processor shenanigans, so maybe I just
Yeah.
want to see any slices that have a payment.
Yeah. I
So if it
deleted it,
if it
by the
does
way,
that,
because
that would be great.
it's still I deleted it because it's still in progress, but I'll bring it back another time.
Sneak peek,
All
but
right.
that's
I
exciting.
actually
So you have so much work going on, and
I
it
do.
seems all pointing to the right direction of being able to support how people want to use event modeling. So yeah, really good work. Thank you so much for
So,
doing this and coming at it out of the blue. Like, you surprised me when you contacted me about it. Like,
yeah.
holy smokes, you guys are doing a lot of work. So
Yeah, it was easier, much easier to pivot from from what we're doing with narrative to this to basically support this thing fully. So that's why we came with a lot of pre-work, from like a
yeah,
year and a
it
half
seems like you
working
have
on
a
it.
lot of these components already baked in, and like, which
Yeah,
is great. So you're
exactly.
not starting from zero. So that, it should be. I can see progress. I mean, even since the last time that we talked, there's a lot of new things in here. So that's great to see.
Thank you so much again. Really appreciate it.
All right,
And yeah, see you
I'm
in a
looking
couple of weeks.
forward to the next update.
Yeah, likewise. All right.
I
Bye
hope
all.
I get all I asked for.
You will. You will. Just maybe not in 2 weeks, but you will. All right.
I'm
See you
just
later.
kidding. Of course. Well, thanks so much.
You
I'll
bet.
see you next